hockey team back in action tonight against the Chicago Blackhawks. The second game of the so-called home and home this week against the Hawks. Russo Radio is in the Fallness Studios via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. Have you ever considered wearing a wetsuit to the Fallness Studios just to protect yourself from all the germs?
Could you imagine what I'd look like in a wetsuit?
No, do you do that on any of your Lapanta excursions when you guys travel the world together?
No, we definitely don't do that. I don't do much. I just go to coffee shops.
That's okay. You don't have to apologize for that. That's fine.
But no, I have not. I'm in. So now the way that this has been renovated is that there's a couple studios here, and this one is always, because Fallness doesn't live in this one. It always smells great.
Oh, really?
That's the only one I'm in. I do my pregame, postgame, intermissions in there.
Today it does smell a little stale.
No, it doesn't. It's perfectly manicured.
How often does it get? Does it get scrubbed up though? I mean, how often do you actually clean the damn room?
That is true. Like, do cleaners know to even come in here?
No, I'd have to let them know to come in. But
that's
all
wrong.
we do is radio in there. I go home and I work there too. This is come on down and check it out.
I don't think it's that sanitary.
Open invitation.
It's one of the many reasons
I'm not
going
to do your shows from down here and everything.
They do it at the cage.
It's too far.
Yeah.
It's
too far.
That's like it takes 2 days to get there now with the construction.
Okay, Mark Rosen, come on down.
I heard Halvey down at the station this morning. He made it down here today.
All right, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Well, get out of get in the playoffs, and then get out of the first round, and then maybe you will see me.
I'm trying to get the format changed so they have a better chance.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I saw a tweet you had yesterday when Gary Bettman, the commissioner, is doubling and tripling down, mocking any criticism about the current format. And what was interesting about it to me was that he kind of, to me, missed the point, because he's saying, well, you guys are making it this year because of the situation in this division. It's like, no, it doesn't matter which division. In different years, it might be different divisions that get hurt worse by this. It's the old, why do you not want to build to the best matchups rather than blow the best matchups in the first round? It still makes no sense to me.
No, it doesn't. I think actually what it is basically and I think that he should look at it in the mirror on this, is that it's a shot at the league. It's basically saying we know that the eyeballs are going to become less and less as the playoffs continue. That is not a good thing.
No.
Where it's the opposite in the NBA. The NBA, the first rounds are usually not compelling, and then it builds to it. And here, I just don't get it, because to me, you'd have as many eyeballs on the 1 through 8, and you'd assure that Marcus Foligno said it great today to PA, is that then you'd get like these dramatic, potential, LA winning the cup coming out from the 8th seed, and Edmonton going to the Stanley Cup Finals the year they were the 8th seed, and things like that. And you don't get that with this. And to me, this is just a simple thing. And I'm a little fatigued on the topic, because this is my 5th thing that I've done today, 2 on the Fan, 2 podcasts, and I just did Kipper and Bourne. But to me, you should not have a league where you could potentially have 3 of the top teams in the top 5, and 2 of them are going to be out after round 1 and 2 after round 2. There's no competitive league would be like that. And to me, why it's hypocritical is that then what the league is saying is that you might as well have Canada versus U.S. in the Olympic quarterfinal and not the final. I mean, it makes zero sense whatsoever that you play an 82-game schedule to not get rewarded for where you finish, that you would allow this is about the Stanley Cup should be given to the team that goes through the four unbelievable rounds of hockey. But your 82-game regular season should matter, and you should not allow a system that allows Utah as the 7th seed, top wildcard team maybe, having more points than the division leader in the Pacific and get rewarded for being 24 or 5 points below the top 3 teams in the division and get this easy path potentially to the third round of the playoffs by going and playing a crummy Anaheim team that might so happen to win a Pacific Division this year that's not very good. So I just don't like it. And I don't understand why the owners, who are technically Gary Bettman's boss, don't scoff at this. Like, if you're Craig Leopold and you lose in the first round this year to Dallas after spending to the cap and having this, he needs to really grow a spine and go to the next Board of Governors meeting and say, this is a bunch of crap. Like, it really is that simple. Like, he is the goal for him should be to fill this building in the second and the third rounds. And when you spend the type of money that he is spending during the regular season, and you're going to wind up being the top three team in your conference and maybe even the NHL, your reward should not be having to play Dallas Stars in the first round for the 50th, time. Like it's not a good system. And at some point, the owners, because this is not like a 50-50 like proposition on who agrees with this or not. Every fan doesn't agree with it. Most broadcasters with a brain don't agree with it. And you know who I'm talking about. Your GMs don't agree with it. Players don't agree with it. But Gary Bettman, this is his thing. Like, it's insane to me. This isn't like a vast majority or it's down the middle. Like fans should be, taken into consideration here, and fans don't like this. And this isn't just Minnesota Wild fans this year. This is like, if you read the comments on the story that I wrote today, and if you read the comments on X, which we know is a vast majority of everybody's opinion, these are out of market people that say this is absolutely stupid. So anyway,
well, that's where I was going next. Do you sense Bettman is out on an island here, and that if you polled most owners, they would say, no, for whatever good reason we thought we had to do this on the front end, it does not make a lot of sense now. And if there are a lot of owners like that, are they all afraid of Bettman? I mean,
they absolutely are, which is, I've always found that to be the most fascinating dynamic in all of pro sports, that when the commissioner is hired by the owners, but the owners are scared to death of the commissioner, it never makes sense to me. But that is absolutely the case. I mean, Gary is an intimidating guy to a lot of people, and he has convinced them that when it comes to TV ratings, when it comes to long competitive series, all that stuff, that this is the way to go in the first round. But this is not like the divisional format and rivalries. It's such a bunch. It's a bunch of crap. In fact, I find it more that fans are fatigued by having to watch Dallas all the time in the playoffs. This isn't like, to me, a divisional format makes sense if it was like when I first started covering the league and then you were playing inside your division 6 or 8 times. The schedule is essentially the same for everybody in every conference. So right now, in an 82-game schedule, you play 2 teams in your division 3 times, and you play the other 5 4 times. And then you play everybody else in the other side of the conference 3 times. So you're essentially playing, 10 teams in your conference, a total of 3 times each. So everybody's essentially playing the same type of schedule. This is not like the old days. So if that's the case and everybody's playing the same schedule, it makes sense to go and seed them 1 through 8, not now put them in the same division and where you have potential of powerhouse things. And Anthony on the podcast today was going on and on about how this is an aberration and trying to, condescendingly tell me what is the definition of aberration. The reality is that if this is an aberration or not, which, by the way, I don't believe it is, you shouldn't have a format that potentially creates this aberration. This was foreseeable. We saw it last year when Dallas had to play Colorado in the first round. We saw this in 2017. You shouldn't have a format this way, and most everybody agrees with it except for the commissioner and Anthony LaPanta.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because Carl from Lake Elmo, by the way, if you have questions for Russo, 64686, Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line.
By the way, my favorite thing today was when Marcus Foligno agreed with me and not Anthony on the.
You loved that, didn't you?
No, I loved it. I texted Marcus right away.
Here's the text: a Russo Lepanta's podcast sparring may have surpassed any Guerin Barrero spat. So is that? I mean, was it just that? Were there other things right now? Are you guys?
Well, no, I mean, we always had to disagree on Marcus Johansson too. That was part of it. But as Anthony did say pretty astutely and accurately to PA today, it wasn't any different than most of our podcasts. we it's kind of probably why our podcast works, because he and I, as good of friends as we are, we always
pretty good.
We disagree on everything, and it's not made up. Like a lot of times, that's why I don't like a lot of the shows. Like on TV. When you have a bunch of sports writers there and things like that, because everything is just manufactured. We actually freaking don't agree on almost anything.
Yeah. Well, that's the key to it. I mean, it has to be genuine, and if it's genuine, because I think people otherwise at some point they kind of see through.
That's why our Europe trips sell out, because everybody wants to see us go at it. Overseas, and we do. Trust me.
And to me, the flaw of the aberration defense is it maybe right now it's our division, but in other years it could be. It doesn't matter, and has been other divisions. The idea is this isn't rocket science. There's a reason one versus 8 and so on makes sense, that it's been tried and true. Now, does it guarantee you're going to have necessarily great matchups even then? No. But I just don't understand what you think you're reinventing by going away.
Exactly.
It makes no sense.
And this is, I just don't get it. But I mean, the one thing that Anthony is definitely right about is that, it's like, might as well just stop complaining about it because the system is the system. But it doesn't mean that the system can't be changed. And at some point, I think the owners and the NHLPA need to just say to Bettman, we're changing. Because I promise you, just to show you how I'm right, the second that Gary Bettman is not the commissioner, they will change the format. It's that simple. So there is one man standing in the way of this, and it's Gary. And I love Gary. I mean, and Gary, I think, knows that I've been accused of being an apologist for him before, and I'm like one of the rare people that actually respect everything that he's done for this league, because I've covered it for so long.
Sure.
And I covered this league when the product on the ice wasn't great, when everything off the ice wasn't healthy. And I think he's done a great job.
No doubt.
But this is one that I know the reason for it, and it's not valid. It's not because this makes for competitive rivalries and a great first round. Like this is 100% because of what we talked about before, and this being sort of an indictment where this is just a provincial league, and that's why, to me, the first round thing makes no sense, because you're going to pay attention to your teams that you're a fan of in the first round regardless. There's going to be 16 markets paying attention. The problem with hockey, that's always been the case, is that, and we see it with our numbers at The Athletic, is that, fans want to watch their teams. Fans want to read about their teams. And when they're out, they just kind of stop. And that's the unfortunate thing about the NHL. It's been that way for a long, long time. And I think that's what Gary's worried about, is that right now you can have series that go 6-7 games in the first round because it's always the best part. And the nature of the sport is it's so physical and so abusive that teams are going to get hurt by the second and third rounds. But that to me would be any format anyway.
No question.
So like it just, the numbers show that there's not late, very few. We saw in the Stanley Cup final a couple of years ago, but these rounds don't go seven games usually in the conference final and the final. So anyway, it's been unrelated.
How long did it take the hockey elite to stop resenting the fact that Bettman came from a rival league and just accept that overall, as you say, he's been a godsend, that he's done a very good job in the position? Because Louie and I have talked about this, and Louie said that was a big issue early, that there was a sort of bill. How long did it take?
Now. I think it's over now. Like, I don't think, I think the majority of people don't look at him as a, sort of an NBA guy anymore. Right. I think that most people that complain about him is just his sort of overall demeanor. Just the fact that, look, they've had 2 lost seasons. They had one full lost season. That essentially got me to Minnesota. Then there was one where they missed half a year, and then obviously his first year as well. So there have been 3 work stoppages during his tenure. I think that's probably the biggest thing. But I think he has done so much good. Like, it's absurd. Like a couple years ago when Vegas won the cup and he's being booed on the ice in Vegas. Like, come on. He gifted you guys not only a team, but a Stanley Cup winner with the unbelievable, rules that he put into place to make sure that Vegas was competitive. And he's done that. I mean, there was days when I covered this league where the TV rights fees essentially got NHL teams a 4th line winger. And now, teams are making a bunch of money that way. The international, schedule and the World Cup is going to make this league a fortune. And which again, in a 50-50 split, goes into the players' pockets as well. So he's done just, and the product on the ice is as good as it's ever been. I mean, it is, it's funny. I just watched a game on NHL Network, from like the 97 or 8 season the other day. And again, I loved covering that league at that time, but man, was it slow. And now you look at the way it is now, and it's it's just a terrific product on the ice. Well,
a number of people have texted this, and this as well as I do, that if you're talking about really any professional sport, certainly hockey, certainly basketball, and I guess even to a certain extent football, depending on how long a lens you're looking at in terms of history, there's all kinds of rivalries that develop outside the purview of the division.
That's what
on the basis of history, right? It's not that difficult to say that it's not just rivalries aren't just bred within the division on regular season. They're also bred on whatever happens on their playoff history, where they happen to be matched up a decent amount, or there's bad blood, or whatever the case may be. That's the other piece of this to me that Bettman is missing.
Yeah, and look, Anthony's romantic when it comes to the old Norris days and things like that.
Right.
Being, born and bred Minnesota, and I got to watch those incredible rivalries when the North Stars were in it. But that is look, you don't get that anymore. And that was back when there were not a lot of teams in the league, and you played those teams a myriad times a year. And again, when I first started covering the NHL, and there was one year where you played inside your division, I believe 8 times. And it's just not like that anymore. And so, when Dallas Stars come here, I'm bored with it. I mean, frankly. In fact, and so it's funny because I'm actually rooting for Dallas to pass Colorado, because I just think it would be a more fun series to watch. And we haven't seen Colorado in the playoffs in some time in 12 years. So I'm just kind of ready for something different. So I don't know. I don't like this. And the thing with the whole aberration thing that also goes to me is contrary is that right now this division is going to be a wagon for some time. I mean, Minnesota, especially if they re-sign Quinn, is going nowhere. Dallas and Colorado have large windows still. Utah is on the rise. Chicago is on the rise. So this division this could be like this for a long, long time, where you look over at the Pacific. I mean, I've been watching Vegas a lot lately. They stink. Anaheim the Wild have beaten Anaheim, I think 21 games in a row or something. Anaheim, the fact that they might win that division is an absolute travesty. So, to me, this is going to be like this for a long, long time, which takes the whole aberration argument. So, I was just, when I had my back and forth with Gary yesterday, which I can't believe that was yesterday. It just feels like it was a month ago. And it wasn't contentious, but it was just typical, Gary standing up for what he believes and me asking questions on why it just didn't, in my eyes, didn't make sense.
Well, there's no question that stylistically, he and the late great David Stern, were very similar in that regard.
Yeah.
I always respected it because you could spar with him. He would allow the sparring.
Oh yeah,
but he was not. I mean, he would not back off. There's no question about it, and it can be very intimidating. A lot of texts coming in, including this one. This is from 218 guy. Does the Wild having only 25 regulation wins a concerning stat? There are 16 teams with more regulation wins than the Wild. Should we care about that?
Yeah, especially on games where they don't close it out like last game and you get to overtime that way and you win and you feel like, all right, they did their job. They got their 2 points. But you're blowing a 3-1 lead and things like that. I do think it's definitely something to be concerned about, but I think everything resets in the playoffs. And I do think that this is a really, really good hockey team. That is gonna, it's just gonna be a different thing in the playoffs. So I don't disagree that is a concern. Anthony pulled out a stat today that was unbelievable that I didn't realize that of their 11, I think, overtime wins or 10 overtime wins, that Kirill Kaprizov has a goal or an assist on 9 of them.
Man.
And that was the first one the other night that he didn't play a factor on, wasn't on the ice for. That's crazy as well. But I don't know. It definitely makes for fun. If you're coming to regular season games to enjoy yourself, they have definitely been entertaining games. I mean, I've really enjoyed covering this team this season because, as a sports writer, you also, when you get to cover this many hockey games, you want to be entertained. And they have been mostly an entertaining game all year long, especially, unfortunately, for the fans here on the road. For the most part, they've been just tremendous on the road. But I get it. I mean, it is a glaring stat when you look at the standings and you see their lack of regulation wins this year, which is, frankly, very different than the last couple of years. Brian wants to know if you have any idea about what the Wild TV situation is going to be next year. I do think that this right now, it looks like FanDuel might not exist. And so if that's the case and they don't have the rights, the Wild are going to have to figure out a remedy. I have an answer. Yeah, Fox 9. Well, it's probably going to be a competitor of Fox 9. Oh. I think that's one big reason why they're putting stuff on 5 and 45 this year is kind of a trial test run that FanDuel's essentially on with them at times. I think there have been 4 or 5 games or before the end of the year. and then they're going to go streaming. And the problem with that, and look, from an NHL rights standpoint, this has been an extremely successful market with successful ratings, and FanDuel has paid the Wild a lot of money in rights fees and things like that. And now when you leave that, I mean, we've seen it with the Twins, right? I mean, the business model just is much, much tougher, especially from streaming. Fans, you're not making up what you're getting in the 20+ million rights fee from FanDuel in subscription fees and things like that. Then you've also got to produce your games. You've got to sell your ads and things like that. It's just it makes it tough. And so, but, if you're the Minnesota Wild and you want your product to be seen by the most eyes in Minnesota, that is the way to go. There's no doubt about it. But right now, I'm not convinced that FanDuel will be around next year to have the rights to the Wild.
218 guy wants to know if you'll have the answer to why Gus Bus walked off the ice without telling anybody.
Yeah, I mean, my theory is that, so he wasn't sick, it sounds like. My theory is he had a gear problem that was probably a little private, that he didn't want to deal with it on the ice.
Okay.
But so because he said it was, quote, under the gear. But what was strange, and we had a really funny back and forth with John Hines today that I'll write about in my Insider with Joe Smith for probably Monday, I would guess, is essentially John's reaction to all of a sudden looking up as he's writing on a piece of paper and seeing Gus, and then he just walks by him, doesn't say anything, hops over the bench, hops over another part of the bench, and just leaves. And John is like, what the heck's going on? All of a sudden, Gus goes in the locker room and tells Wally, you're in. And next thing they get a stoppage. Wally makes a couple big saves, and John turns around and sees Gus just standing there with his helmet on and his chin on the knob of his stick, like looking at him. So John just opens the door and basically says to him, like, do you want to go back in? And he's like, yeah, I'll go back in. Like, it was just like, even John's was like, it was the weirdest thing in the world, just everything. And just the fact that Gus like nonchalantly left and thought this was like a common thing, like it's just, the whole thing is just crazy. I wasn't at the game. I was down in Florida at the GM's meetings. But man, it was funny to watch, and I thought he must have been sick again, like he was in Denver a couple weeks ago. Especially when Boldy got the heck out of Dodge. Like, I didn't know what Gus must have been saying. I thought it looked to me like Boldy thought, like, oh my God, this guy's going to hurl right on me. But he just left and came back. So my guess is he had some sort of cup issue or something.
Nobody wants to be thrown up on. I think that's a universal thought. Yeah. This one's controversial. Would you ask Russo, when are people going to start talking about Quinn Hughes being a defensive liability?
Yeah, I do think that is one reason why we're going to see the defense pairs broken up tonight. I've been asking about this in the last couple days. I don't think it's that he's a defensive liability. I think that he plays so much offense that he becomes a defensive liability, which I guess is one and the same. I think one issue, and I've been kind of saying this, is so there's a give and a take with this, is that tonight they're going to go with Spurgeon and Quinn there, which has been something that I've been asking if they should do here in the last couple days. And then they're going to go with Brodin and Faber, because Brodin and Faber, by the way, were really good in the playoffs last year. The issue is with the give and take is that while Spurgeon is going to be much more defensively responsible with Quinn, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a second in terms of Brock, because I'm not really taking a shot at Brock. There is a size issue, and I don't think that works in the playoffs. So what I think when Brock is with Quinn, he gets a little antsy and wants to essentially do with what Quinn did. And when I was watching that game the other night, and Joe Smith actually pointed this out to me, and I saw it as well, when that one offensive zone shift on the one goal against, where both Quinn and Brock were below the offensive goal line, that's when you know there's got to be a change. Like, it just means, like, it means that Brock is trying to freelance the way that Quinn does, and not the other way around, where you just know Spurge isn't going to do that. So anyway, I just think that you might as well try it now. And I asked John this morning about experimentation, because I also, and that's where this even came out, because they had an optional today, so we didn't see the defense pairs. And he just volunteered the fact that he was going to change up the D pairs today. But with the playoffs locked and loaded, and with the positioning essentially locked and loaded, now's the time, these last 15 whatever games, to maybe do some experimentation. See if different guys work together at forward, different guys at defense. And then even if, you start with the same second line as Johansson, Poldy, and Eriksson Ek in the playoffs, at least if Tarasenko can play up there. If all of a sudden Brock and Quinn are giving up more than they're scoring, and they have been bleeding chances lately, then that Spurgeon can play with a Quinn. So I think it's just allowing. I think their position right now is allowing John to just try different things. And tonight they're going to take a look at this.
Who's in the net tonight?
Wallstedt.
It is Wallstedt. Okay. Yeah. All right. Figured it would be. On that note, we'll let you go. Enjoy the rest of the evening. We'll talk next week. Thank you.
See you, Dan. Take care.
We'll do it. Russo Radio, kind enough to join us. We're out today for Wild Hockey. Guardsy reminds me at about 15 minutes earlier than usual, so about 6:15 or so. A lot of housekeeping in the remaining 45 minutes of the program. I do want to get to some Wolves stuff. I've got a lot of texts coming in on myriad subjects, some of them Big Dance related, and maybe we'll give you a Big Dance update on what's already been kind of an intriguing day one when we return.
Man.
On the Michigan State NDSU game, I don't think we did.
Did it just go final?
It's in the books.
Yeah,
Michigan
that happened
State
a couple minutes
and
ago.
Tom Izzo running up the score, 92-67. The Spartans are a 3 seed. Arkansas, a 4 seed, takes care of 13 seed Hawaii, 97-78. And I think now we're kind of waiting, right, for the next group of games to begin. The first one on the books is North Carolina and VCU. Howard and Michigan to follow shortly thereafter. Wisconsin is out, if you missed that, a 5 seed, losing to High Point.
Bo Ryan, classy and gracious in defeat.
We should probably tell that backstory for the first time in a while because a couple texters have asked about it.
Really? Okay, yeah.
The Bo Ryan backstory is he loses in the championship game. What year would this have been?
That was 2015. They had beaten Kentucky with Cat.
That's right.
Who was undefeated.
Yeah.
This was in Indy, of course. Where else would it be? They had beaten Kentucky. They advanced to the national championship game. They have a big lead on Jahlil Okafor, Tyus Jones, and the Duke Blue Devils. And Grayson Allen, little-used Grayson Allen, comes off the bench to get the Blue Devils surging. Duke wins, and they do the post-game interview with Bo Ryan.
With Bo Ryan, and Bo was not shy about suggesting that he wasn't particularly delighted with the officiating, correct?
Exactly right.
I mean, they
got some calls, yeah.
Exactly. So as soon as the interview ends, they send it back to Gumbel, who then says what you just played. Bo Ryan. Want to play it again?
Ryan, classy and gracious in defeat.
It was so good.
And the beauty of it was fairly apparent that Gumbel didn't hear the interview.
We should probably find it.
And I'm sure, we probably should. And I'm sure it was like, well, I'll go with the standard boilerplate under a situation like that. I'm sure we'll go with gracious in defeat when Ryan had been anything but in this particular case. So that's the backstory to it. It was it was a lot of fun. I remember it well.
My favorite was we had Feinstein on after, in those couple of days, because as usual, it's the Final Four into the Masters. And he noticed, and he's a Dookie anyway, but I don't think this necessarily had anything to do with it. But just how he said it, he's like, and then Greg Gumbel says classy and gracious, when in fact he was anything but either of those things.
It was too good.
It was one of the best.
I'll
have to find it.
It's one of those organic moments. That's the beauty of those organic moments is you can't possibly choreograph them. You can't schedule them. They're based on stuff that you just can't see coming. And again, I don't know if Gumbel ever was asked about it, but my assumption is he's got a million people talking to him. He's looking at what are we going to do
Get ready
next?
for one shining moment.
So he just said, okay, I got to reintroduce who that was. That was Bo Ryan.
You want it?
And I'm going to assume, let's listen.
Wisconsin on the short end of the score tonight. Our Tracy Wolfson with Wisconsin coach Bo Ryan.
Coach, you fell just short. I know you haven't had much time to really think about it, but what was the difference down the stretch there?
Well, I told these guys how proud I was of them, and, it was just a situation where you just have to be able to handle all the hands and the checking. I mean, all the there was more body contact in this game than any game we played all year, and I just feel sorry for my guys that all of a sudden a game was like that, and I think they're struggling with that a little bit, so we missed some opportunities. They hit some tough shots, but it's just a shame that it had to be played that way.
You told me before the game how bad you wanted this for your team. What did you say to them just in the locker room over there?
Well, I still told them how proud I am. I've never seen a bunch of guys. I've coached a long time, and that's probably as far as guys coming together. And look at our offensive efficiency. That says a lot about a group of people who are willing to share the ball, and I think we set the record for offensive efficiency. Now, it might not look that way the last 10 possessions out there tonight, but there might have been some reasons for that. But I'm proud of them that way. And then defensively, we led the Big Ten in defense, and fewest turnovers, fewest fouls until tonight. So there's a lot of good things when you look at the stats that this group did, and I'm extremely proud of them.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Tremendous season.
Bo Ryan, classy and gracious in defeat. How about Mike Krzyzewski?
Oh, it's so good. It's just the best. I'll never get over it. I'll laugh every time. I'm glad you put them both together. So at least that gives a bit of context.
There's context
to a history that we all have a tendency to just assume that everybody knows all these backstories, including Tampa Bay, San Antonio Davy, and perhaps every once in a while it is good to offer a refresher course. And given it's big dance time, perfect time to go back to Bo Ryan.
11 years ago.
When was the Bo Ryan? Because we have it as a sounder someplace. What elicited the Bo Ryan violence is out of the question?
They had lost a game somewhere.
I thought it was here.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
It was like Michigan State or Maryland. They had lost to somebody, and somebody asked them essentially, how do you move on from it, or how do you get past it?
It's just too good.
Violence is out of the question.
Yeah.
There was the other one, I remember this one being Maryland, and on the road, Maryland head coach Mark Turgeon started his press conference before, and protocol, typically, if you're going to do it at the same spot, which now a lot of teams don't do. Even at the barn now, they have their own, the road will go to the pavilion media room if there's even visiting media. That's a whole other thing, because a lot of places don't have dedicated beat writers that travel like they used to, certainly on TV stations. And the Maryland coach had started his press conference first, which he was not supposed to do. And Bo Ryan just walked in, basically said, we got a plane to catch. Guys have class tomorrow morning, which is classic. Guys have class. We got to get back. And then he kind of he kicks Turgeon out. Turgeon's like, are you serious? He's like, it's protocol. And it was brilliant. That video's got to be somewhere, too.
For reasons like these, he was one of my favorite coaches, because he was capable of all those kinds of moments that were just tickled me. He was so entertaining in that way. And that didn't necessarily mean I always agreed with him, but it was fun to watch for sure.
Hell of a coach, too.
Remind me, regarding the mention you had of fewer and fewer reporters showing up for games, there's a Johnny Athletic nugget we've got to get to that he may not even be aware of him getting savaged on national radio for all of the wrong reasons, which we'll get to in a minute. I do have a done as a society item to get to. Let's get caught up, because we went obviously long with Russo radio. 612 guy writes, I'm sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic listening to bumper-to-bumper, and I think that's pretty neat. Well, why do you think we named the show that? I mean,
that's why you did it. Yeah. I never knew.
A lot of people thought it was something more elaborate, something a little bit more complicated than that. No, we keep it very simple on the bumper-to-bumper program. I don't even remember what the runner-up was. Might have been Savagery on a Stick, but we thought that was too specific about the State Fair. And the State Fair, even though it is always right around the corner, is still a few months off. We'll come back with our done as item, get to some other texts, a little bit more on Garzy's favorite professional basketball team when we return. Please. This is an important bit of follow-up related to a subject that has been haunting me since we first discussed it on yesterday's program. I mentioned I was fairly certain I covered a men's hockey Final Four in, shall we say in the business, Lake Placid. And I found it. 1988, and it was the semifinal game we lost. First semifinal game, Lake Superior 6, Maine 3. And on April 1st, we lose to St. Lawrence 3-2 in the semis. We ended up also losing they played consolation games back then, and Lake Superior won it in OT over St. Lawrence. But that was the one I recalled. I knew I had done it, but I like to give some closure to it and a little bit more information because people were coming up with other years and other dramatic finishes and all that, and that was the occasion back just within the first couple of years in which I got to town. Meanwhile,
this is the end, my only friend, the end.
Are you familiar with the activity, the trend known as coffin lying?
Oh, gosh, no. I don't think so.
It's apparently becoming big in Japan.
Okay.
Funeral homes and spas has started a new trend called coffin lying, or meditating on death inside a coffin.
What the hell's going on out here?
At coffin lounges, customers can pick an open or closed casket and spend 30 minutes lying inside for about $13 American.
Guardsy here for Washburn McCreevy.
So the beauty of this is you don't have to die, but you can lay in a coffin and meditate.
Interesting.
Presumably about death. Some services offer music, visuals projected on the ceiling, and colorfully decorated caskets, all designed to calm the nerves while customers are coming to terms with death. Custom coffin maker Mikako Fuse says meditating in one of her designer caskets helps people see that, quote, death is bright and not so scary.
What?
I'm just reading them. Coffin lying or meditating on death inside a coffin. You have that opportunity to do that. Now, if you've ever wondered what it's like, and you don't want to die to find out what it's like.
Right.
Because if you have died, you don't know what it's like. I guess unless you believe in the spirit world.
It just depends, what you're into.
What you're into, that's exactly it. Is that something that would interest you at all?
I'm just
coffin lying. Would that intrigue
Well, in
you?
all seriousness, I'm trying to think if this is something that's going to come to America. I don't want to be on record saying that I hate it, and then in a year I'm endorsing it and trying to, promo code GUARD for your first session free.
You'll do anything for $1.
I will.
Jeez.
Hey, 3 kids, they're sports. There's a lot going on. I guess I would try it. I'm not as afraid. There are some people that go to a funeral, don't even want to look at that coffin, right? Like there are some people that are so
that's true
weirded out by the concept of death and the whole proceeding that it would bother them. I don't think I'm really one of those people. So I think I could be a little bit more open-minded about it, but I don't think it's necessarily for me. But I'd be willing to try it if they came over here, I guess. It's not something I would have come up with on my own.
Do any of these exist in the United States?
That's what I don't know. I was
This story is Dateline Japan, yeah.
trying to do a quick Google. What's the term? Coffin what?
Coffin lying, as in lying in, Lying. That's how it's described in this particular piece. Coffin lying, Lying.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of magazine articles or articles about the health benefits of it.
So the assumption is, if you want to lie in one of these, you will go inside what's called a coffin lounge.
Yes.
First of all, right? And it goes from there.
And they close the coffin, right? I mean, they have to.
They're saying it's up to you. You can have an open casket and meditate, however you want in that situation, or you can have it closed. Doesn't matter. 612 guy writes, I'm sitting here at KFAN the restaurant listening to Chad and Barrero, eating a Chad and Barrero sandwich, enjoying the coolly ironic ranch with the hotly contestable mustard, and I thought that's pretty neat. That's a good callback.
Do you remember the Barrero sandwich, what it was?
It was a patty melt, I think, wasn't it?
Well, close. It was a patty melt down.
That's right.
That's how clever we were.
So clever that the place, how long did it stay open? 2 years?
A couple of years.
Yeah, 2 years actually was better than you might have thought.
It was a good restaurant. I used to go there all the time as a young buck over to Roseville.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We used to do shows from there.
Sludge and Lake. We're there almost every night.
Is that true?
I'd be back in this studio.
Wow. Yeah.
Taking it to those guys.
It was a nice stage. It was a nice setup.
I liked it. Yeah.
The best coffin lounges have to be, of course, in Indianapolis.
Of course.
According to Dr. Phil.
They probably have a good coffin lounge.
I think that's for you. Interesting. Not far off, somebody is saying, from a sensory deprivation tank. That's maybe
Is that right? Yeah, I've never done that either.
Yeah. It's very possible. That I don't know.
People are encouraged to reflect on memories about the people they love.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
And what it might feel like to say goodbye to them. You can listen to soft music or sit in total silence.
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot of diligence here.
At least one individual has taken offense to my characterization of the Bo Ryan interview. I think your anti-Wisconsinism is clouding your vision of that interview. Bo was very gracious of his players and classy for not berating the officials, which he had every right to do.
Bo Ryan, classy and gracious in defeat.
You also need to watch the video.
Well, I would say you don't need to. I would say the words themselves, if you're being honest, it's actually more chicken bleep, because instead of just coming out and saying the officials screwed us, we suddenly had to play in a style that we hadn't had to play all year because of all their hands and all their grabbing. He tried to do it the subtle way, which to me is the more weaselly way. So if you're reading or listening to that interview, even if you weren't watching it, and your conclusion is, my God, he couldn't have been classier about not only his own players, but about the way the game ensued and what the other team was doing, then you obviously grew up in Fond du Lac. I mean, there's no other explanation
near the Dells.
Or near the Dells. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. And I don't even think Bo Ryan would disagree with that. Well, actually, he probably would, because Bo Ryan was one of those guys who he could deny stuff right in front of you that was very obvious. That was one of the. I think that's kind of how he was wired. You will deny it all. You deny everything. So
great coach.
Great coach.
Great coach.
I don't think you can come out of that saying that he made it all about his team, how valiantly they tried, and credit to the other team
until the last 10 minutes
for winning. And exactly,
or the last 10 possessions.
It's just, you can't really make that stuff up. Top of the hour break, final segment of the show today, because we're out early for more Minnesota Wild action against the Chicago Blackhawks. Back in just a minute.
Show Wrap is brought to you by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
Maybe this is what you were doing when I turned on the radio a few minutes ago, right? 763 guy, but you guys really should do a series of segments explaining all of your sounders so your younger audience has the backstory. Did you see the game? Easily correctable, frustrating, or the one you just played? What the hell's going on here? The next generation needs this. It's so rich. We have done that occasionally. Maybe we, do it in a more concentrated fashion where we take a half hour or an hour and we say, all right, let's run through about 10 of them. The problem with that is unless all the people who have the same questions about each of them happen to be listening at that moment,
right?
You still run into the same problem eventually. But you can't, if you explain every bit every time, it kind of loses its impact.
Exactly.
Right?
I've got a great option for when we can do this. How about
best of
July 12th? When we're right in the middle of the abyss.
Not a bad thought.
Maybe every day we can...
Why waste it at a time of year where there's already built-in stuff?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hopefully people could hang on with us until then and not knowing what Bo Ryan, classy and gracious in defeat. But then every day we could do it at like 4:30 every day for a week. Behind the bit daily.
Yeah.
And at the start of the show, remind people, this is what we're going to do in 90 minutes. Which bit do you need explained? And we'll go through a couple of them. Because the audience is always changing, like you said. So every day... different people can tell us which ones they need some explanation on, and we'll do our best to do it.
Very good idea.
July 12th. Write it down.
Bo Ryan writes, Oldsmobile guy was a legendary red ass. Absolutely rode the zebras from start to finish every night. My buddies and I called him Crying Bo Ryan. As you say, a really good coach. And all coaches ride officials. He certainly, I don't think, took a back seat in that regard.
And you know the Guardsy connection to Bo Ryan. Do you not? We've talked about it, I think.
Well, I think I do, but it's been a while.
And it's not because Greg is my uncle.
Right.
He has 1A.
Yeah.
I have 2. But my uncle Rich, who we had on the show when he met President Obama in Decorah, Iowa, was a high school basketball coach, high school athletic director, long-time golf coach. He worked the Platteville camps when Bo Ryan was at Platteville for years and years and years.
That's right. Okay.
So at the 1997 Final Four, Bo Ryan, we are in Bo Ryan's hotel room. Where else? Indy. At the Hyatt, the one right downtown, the big one.
Yeah.
And my dad is selling Bo Ryan Final Four tickets. My uncle would always hang with them, and Greg Gard and all those guys.
Sure.
Because they were D3 coaches. Mm-hmm. They were just kicking it around.
Yeah.
And my dad, because he had a couple of extras, sold them to Bo for whatever he paid for him. He didn't try to, Bo Ryan's Platteville money.
Yeah. And
the rest is history. So I always liked those guys. And I went to his camp in Platteville when I was little Guardsy. It's so funny that then he is a game away from a national champion. But that's the Guardsy connection, not that anybody cares or asked.
Dan, my wife did the design work on KFAN, the restaurant. Let me know when you're going to reboot it. She needs to give it another shot. I'm guessing she's been haunted by whatever mistakes she made the first time and wants to correct them. Not that I'm blaming her for the demise of the restaurant. It had really nothing to do with the decor, which is actually was pretty good.
Who was ripping Johnny? Somebody was just texting me.
Oh, the Johnny thing.
We need the Johnny tease in our final couple of minutes.
Yes. So I'm listening, because I'm weird, to on SiriusXM, the NBA channel, they have post-game show stuff on all the games. Every night where they go through each game and they have sound from each game, okay? And I happen to be listening to it after this would have been a Wolves loss recently. And they're playing a back and forth between Finchy and Johnny Athletic. And it's about 3 or 4 minutes long. And it's Johnny asking 3, maybe 4 consecutive questions. And the host of the show, whose name escapes me, just went off. Why isn't anybody else asking a question? Who is this guy? Why is he monopolizing all the time? Well, it was a road game. And, of course, the comeback is, are you paying attention to the journalistic landscape these days? A lot of times, the visiting team does not have a bunch of reporters because no one wants to spend the money on it anymore, Star Tribune or anyplace else. So the idea that he wouldn't have some alertness to the fact that, well, Johnny may have been looking around, see anybody else wants to ask a question. There's nobody else to ask a question. That's the answer. But nevertheless, he got savaged. He also got savaged for one of the questions themselves, and I can't remember what it was. The guy was just I'm surprised Johnny didn't hear about it.
Oh, he probably did. He probably filed it away.
That's very possible.
As we know, Johnny, as we learned last week, talking about Hopkins and Minnetonka, he holds a grudge.
There's no question.
He holds a grudge.
Lastly, KFN should consider opening championship lie-ins where Minnesota fans could go and lay down and meditate on what it would feel like to win the championship.
That's genius.
That's pure
Do a
genius.
parade.
651 guy. That's outstanding.
Yeah,
Speaking
nice.
of good callback work, that's outstanding. Larry Mondello guy writes, Gumble should have said Bo Ryan, classically passive-aggressive in defeat, which is exactly right. Thank you to Russo Radio. We're out early today because where he is, the Minnesota Wild are taking on the Blackhawks yet again. That is coming up. Tomorrow is a Ben Gessling day. Tomorrow is a Lavelle E. Neal III day as well. And who knows what else. Some more Big Dance listen-ins, I'm sure. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3. Wild hockey right around the corner. Don't go away.
Violence is out of the question.
Bo Ryan, classy and gracious in defeat.